Begin the Gemara today, Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, 5-6 lines from the bottom of the Yamud. Going back to what it said in the Mishnah, we're speaking about a person that made a neder. Someone shouldn't have a nar from him, but there are still things that he's allowed to do for that person. The Mishnah said, Melamdoi Medrish, you could teach him Medrish, Halaches, Agodis, Avoloy Lamdana Mikra. But you should not teach him the psukim of the Torah, don't teach him Chumash. So the Gemara explains why not. Mikra, my time, Lo Yalamdenu, what's the reason why you shouldn't teach him Mikra, the psukim of the Torah? You're on the right page, somewhere over there. Mishom the Kamahanile. The reason is because you're giving him anah. By teaching him these psukim of the Torah, giving him anah. How are you giving him anah? Because he would have to pay you for teaching him. And now you're teaching him, you're not charging him. So you're giving him anah. If so, Medrash Nami Kamahanile. If you're teaching him Medrash and you're not charging him, so you're also teaching him without charging him, so you're also giving him anah. Shmuel. So Shmuel answers, "B'makim shenoitlim schar ala mikra." We're speaking about a place where people do get paid for teaching the psukim of the Chumash. Ve'ein noitlim schar ala medrash, but they don't get paid for teaching medrash, for teaching the medrash, or drashas of psukim. For that, they don't get paid. But the Gemara asks in this, why? My paske, why are you making this distinction that for Chumash people pay and for medrash people don't pay? So the Gemara explains, this is what we can see, our Mishnah is teaching us here, that even in a place where people do pay someone that teaches Torah, but ala mikra shari lemishkal. For teaching Chumash, you're allowed to get paid. But ala medrash loy shari lemishkal. But for teaching medrash, you're not allowed to get paid. And so therefore, when you teach mikra, someone that you made a neder and you're not charging him, he's getting anah, teaching it for free. But if you're teaching medrash and you're not charging him, you're not giving him any anah by not charging him because you don't charge for this. So a few points on this. First of all, the Ram points out that what you see here in the lashon of the Gemara, b'mokim shenait l'mschar, what the Gemara is trying to say is there were places that they didn't charge not for medrash and not for mikra. But over here, the Mishnah is saying we're speaking about a place where they weren't machmer and they would pay for mikra and they would not pay for medrash, and therefore you have this distinction regarding a person that you made a neder from him. Now the hesber of the difference, why by mikra you could charge when you teach, the Gemara is about to explain. Another point that Ran explains over here. So how is it that we pay teachers of Torah, teachers of children in Cheder? How is anyone getting paid for teaching Torah? So the Ran brings a famous thing that it says that you're paying for the schar betela. You're not paying for the actual work that they're doing to teach, but you're paying for the fact that in this time they could have had a different job and got paid for that, and now by them taking off from their time to teach, they're bottled. They can't do that work, and therefore you have to pay them for not being able to do other work. So you're not paying them directly for teaching. A final point over here in this Gemara is, you may ask, the whole Gemara is discussing about charging for teaching, so therefore how could you teach someone that you made a neder, that he can't have a nar from you? What's with the teaching itself? You're giving him a nar just by teaching the Torah itself. So on that the Ran says, no, mitzvahs lav lahanis nitna. The Torah that you're teaching him is not considered to be giving him a nar because it's Torah, and Torah is not for the purpose of any hana. But now here the Gemara explains, what's the difference between medrash and mikra? Why all of a sudden regarding mikra are you allowed to charge and why by medrash not? Says the Gemara, Maishna medrash deloy. So now what's the difference? When it comes to teaching Torah and any other area of Torah, medrash or anything else in Torah, that you're not allowed to charge, d'chsiv, so you learn it from the pasuk as follows. It says, V'oisi tziv Hashem be'isi l'lamed eschem. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem commanded me to teach you Torah. Uksiv, but then it says later in the pasuk, Re'ei, or maybe earlier in the pasuk it says, Re'ei lemadeti eschem chukum u'mishpatim. I've taught you chukum u'mishpatim, Moshe Rabbeinu. Kasher, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to the Yidden, I have taught you chukum u'mishpatim. Ka'asher tzivani Hashem, like Hashem commanded me. What are those extra words, Kasher tzivani Hashem, saying? Obviously, Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching what Hashem taught him. He doesn't have to add that. So Kasher tzivani Hashem means ma ni b'chinam, just like the Eibusha teaches Moshe Rabbeinu free of charge. Afatam nami b'chinam. So too, when you teach Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches Torah, or anybody teaches Torah, you have to also teach like the Eibusha himself, free of charge. So that's regarding medrash. So if so, mikra nami b'chinam. If you teach psukim of Chumash, you should also teach for free. Answers the Gemara, you're not charging for the teaching of the Torah itself. Rather, Rav says, when you teach mikra, what you can charge for is schar shimur. You're charging for teaching the children, and you're watching them. You're watching them. If you wouldn't be teaching them Torah, where would these children be? They would be running around in the streets. So you're watching them that they should be inside, not run around. That's what you're getting paid for. Rabbi Yechanan says, Schar Pisuk Taimim. When you teach Chumash, so there's also the trap or the notes that you have of the psukim that Balkaida reads, and the teacher teaches with these notes, and that's what he's getting paid for. Not for the teaching of the words or the meaning of the psukim, but the Pisuk Taimim. That's not part of Torah. That's not these Taimim. We'll see soon. The Gemara will discuss this. It's an argument about this. But here, according to Rabbi Yechanan, the Taimim is not the Torah that you're teaching. Going back now to the Mishnah. Tnan, what did it say in the Mishnah? Lo yilam danu mikra. When you make a neder, so don't teach that person chumash, because if you're teaching them free of charge, you're giving him a hana. Says the Gemara. So bishleime, the Mishnah will be understood l'man damas cha pisuk taimim, that the reason you're getting paid is because of teaching the taimim of the pasuk. Hainu the lo yilam danu. So therefore over here, if you teach this person free of charge, so you shouldn't teach him. You're giving him hana. But if the pay that you get when you teach Chumash is because you're watching children, so they shouldn't be running around in the streets, Gadol bar shimuru. The Gemara's assumption here is that in the Mishnah, we're talking about a person that made a neder, someone else shouldn't have a nar from him. It's talking about another Gadol, an adult. So if he's teaching him Torah, that person is not allowed to pay him, because regarding a Gadol, you're not watching him from running around in the streets. That only applies to a teacher of children. So if so, how over here is there any issue of teaching him because he's not paying you if you're not allowed to charge him in the first place? There is no shimure, there is no watching him at all. And says the Gemara, you're right, according to this opinion, you're going to have to say, Bekatan Katani. When it says in the Mishnah that you shouldn't teach someone that you made a neder, that he shouldn't have a nar from you, Chumash, it's talking about a katan, a child that otherwise... A person made a neder that this katan should not have a nar from you, so therefore you're not allowed to teach him Chumash, because if you're teaching him free of charge, he's having a nar from you. That's what the Mishnah is speaking about, a katan. If the Mishnah is speaking about a katan, aim is safer. The Mishnah says right afterwards, Aval melamed es banav mikra. Even though he's not allowed to have a nar from you, but you're teaching him mikra, but his children, you could teach mikra. What does that mean, the children of a katan? Katan bar banamu. The Reisha is speaking about a katan. You're speaking about the children of a katan. How is that possible? So how could that be the pshat in the Mishnah? Says the Gemara, according to this opinion, we have to say chasura mechsere is missing in the words of the Mishnah. V'hachi katani. This is how you have to read the Mishnah. Lo yalamdanu mikra bekatan. That if the person that is not allowed to have a nar from you is a katan, so because by a katan there's a charge, so therefore you don't teach him mikra. If he is a gadol and he has children, so first of all, you're allowed to teach him himself, because by an adult there's no charge b'chlal, so there's no anah if you're not charging him. Ulaban of mikra, and also for his children you can teach as well. And regarding the children, the chiddush over here is, even though the father has an obligation to teach his children, and you're fulfilling that obligation for the father, but nevertheless you're allowed to teach his children. The fact that you're teaching his children free of charge is not a direct hana to the father itself, which is the one that you made the neder with. So therefore, you're allowed to teach the children. Another case, another brayse here, the Gemara brings, Meisve, a question was asked. The brayse says, Tinoikis, children, a Rebbe is teaching children Torah, like Kairim B'tchila B'Shabbos. You shouldn't teach them mikra, don't teach them psukim that you're teaching them now, new psukim that you're teaching them for the first time. Don't teach them on Shabbos. Ella shainin b'rishain. You can review with them things that they learned already earlier in the week, and even if you're reviewing with them for the very first time, the first chazara, but you can review with them. But don't learn with them new mikra on Shabbos. So what's the reason for this distinction? Why not learn new? According to the opinion that says that when you're charging for teaching, reason you're charging is because of the timing, the notes of the trop of the psukim that you're teaching. That's what you're charging for. So we can understand this distinction of teaching the first time or teaching the second time. So this is the explanation why you shouldn't teach the first time. So the Ran explains the point of here is that the main pay that the Rebbe gets is the first time he teaches. That's the main effort when you have to teach the psukim the first time. The second time is just chazara, it's just to help the children review. It's not the main payment. On Shabbos, there's an Isser Midrabanan, which is called Schar Shabbos. You're not allowed to get paid for work on Shabbos. Right, so over here, when you're teaching the first time the Mikra on Shabbos, so the pay is for what the work that you're doing on Shabbos. But if you already taught it to them before during the week and you're just reviewing on Shabbos, so your pay is not coming from Shabbos. Your pay is coming from what you already taught before. So that could explain what's the difference between teaching it the first time on Shabbos or just reviewing it on Shabbos. But according to the opinion that says that the pay that a teacher gets when he teaches children is because he's watching them, not to run around in the streets. What's the difference? Why are we saying over here that you're not allowed to teach them the first time on Shabbos? But then we say, but to chazar, to review even the first time, that you are allowed on Shabbos. What's the difference? Either way, you're teaching them the first time, the second time. As far as watching the children, it's the same thing. The Gemara asks back and says, even according to your reasoning, the way you understand what this Braisa is saying, that the issue over here with teaching children on Shabbos is the issue of schar Shabbos. You're getting paid for work on Shabbos. But according to this, schar pisuk b'Shabbos mi aser, getting paid over here for the work that you're doing on Shabbos, is this forbidden in this kind of scenario? We're talking about a teacher that's teaching children all week, and he's reviewing on Shabbos. Is this an issue of paying this teacher for the work that he does? But havla, what his teacher is doing is called havla, meaning that the salary he gets for the entire week, which includes the days of the week and Shabbos, it's incorporated. Shabbos is incorporated in the rest of the week. You're not paying him specifically on Shabbos. The Isma de Rabbana to get paid for work on Shabbos is only if you're paying for work that's done exclusively on Shabbos, not if it's incorporated with the salary incorporates the rest of the week. V'havla mishra shari. Havla, when the salary is incorporated with the rest of the week, so that's allowed. The Gemara brings a source for this. The Tanya, we learned in the Braisa. So this is actually regarding a para aduma, which you need you had to prepare the different things for the para aduma. So it says there as follows: Soiches apoyel, you're hiring a worker. Lishmer satinik. So you have to first watch the child that from birth he has to be watched in a place which is separated for Tumah, and he's going to be the one that's going to prepare everything for the Para Duma. The Mishnah describes how he has to be placed in an area where there's no Tumah at all. So someone has to watch this child. So you're hiring him. Lishmeir sapara, and then to watch the cow. Lishmeir sazrayim, or to watch different seeds that are growing. And this is actually not for the Para Duma, but Rashi or the Mefarish says that this is for the carbon oimer that's going to be used. So if he's doing this and he's watching on Shabbos, if he's only doing this work just Shabbos, so then you can't pay him for that. He has to do it for free. There's no schar. You're not allowed to pay just for work on Shabbos. So since he's doing this for free, lefichach im avdu ein chayav b'achri yusan. Is if there's anything that got lost, if there's anything that happened wrong over here, so then he's not going to be responsible. Why? Because he's a shem echinam. By a shem echinam, geneva or aveda, if it gets stolen or gets lost, it's not your responsibility. He's not getting paid for the work that's just for Shabbos. Shabbos, if he was a worker not just for Shabbos, the word Shabbos here means for the whole week. He's working for the entire week. Or Sacher Chodesh, he's hired for the whole month. Sacher Shana is hired for the entire year. Sacher Shavua, hired for 7 days. For the whole Shemitah, that is, for 7 years, that is. Hired for 7 years. So then, Nois and Loi, Schar Shabbos. So then you could pay him for the work that he does on Shabbos, because here you see this idea that it's incorporated with the rest of the week. So you can give him a salary, which includes Shabbos as well. And lefichach, so now since he's getting paid for everything, including for what he does on Shabbos, im avdu chayav b'achri yusan. If it gets lost on Shabbos itself, it will be his responsibility. He's a shem esacha, and he's chayav for aveda, something that got lost. So basically, now going back to the Braisa before, regarding teaching children, what does this mean? You're not allowed to teach children on Shabbos. Because of the Schar Shabbos, why is that an issue? You're incorporating the salary with the rest of the week. Ella says the Gemara, Gabi Shabbos, Haine Time. That Braisa about not teaching children on Mikra on Shabbos, completely different reason. Nothing to do with Schar Shabbos. The reason you shouldn't teach children for the first time is Vishom the Yifnu Avasain the Yanuki, because the fathers of these children make special time on Shabbos, mitzvah the Shabbos, for this mitzvah of Shabbos, which means the Einik Shabbos, that 1 day a week the father has time to spend time with his children on Shabbos. And if they have to go to the Rebbe to learn the Chumash for the first time, so then the father won't want to disturb them from the new Chumash that they're learning that day, and therefore he won't have time to spend time with them on Shabbos. If they're just doing Chazara, if they're just reviewing something that they learned already before, so they already know it, so the father will not feel bad to take the child out of the classroom because he already learned it once before. So if the father's having the Shabbos Suda now, he'll take take the child. Or a little bit of another pshat that Rishonim say, if they're learning it for the first time, it's going to take them a longer time to learn, and therefore they'll come home too late to spend time with the father by the Shabbos Suda. If they're just reviewing, they'll make it home in time. So it's all regarding the mitzvah of Einik Shabbos, the father spending time with his children. Or a different pshat, why you shouldn't teach Chumash for the first time in Shabbos, b'shum de b'shabbata achlim v'shasin, Shabbos you eat and drink extra, v'yakir alein alma. And the person's body is much heavier and it's more difficult to learn. So you want to teach them the first time, the psukim of the Chumash, it's not the right time in Shabbos to teach. Kedama Shmuel says, Shinui Veset, if you change the habit or the routine of a person in his eating, Tchilas Chayli Mayim. This is the beginning, this is the source of a person having intestinal ailments because of changing his schedule or his routine of eating. So therefore Shabbos, a person's body is not exactly in the right condition to be able to learn Torah for the very first time. So Shabbos is a great time for Chazara, for reviewing, but not learning the first time. So it has nothing to do with the discussion over here of Schar Shabbos. Okay, now the Gemara comes back to the argument here between Rav and Rabbi Yechanan. Why is it that you pay for Mikra? So the opinion that says that the reason you pay is because you're not only teaching the psukim itself, but you're also teaching the notes, the trop of the psukim. Why did he not agree to the opinion that says that you're paying for the Rebbe to watch the children? And says the Gemara, because Kasavar, he holds Banais Mikabayin Shimon. Do girls need any shimur? Do they have to be watched when you teach them Torah? They don't have to be watched. The boys, if they're not going to be taught Torah, what are they going to do? They're going to run around in the streets. But the girls, if they're not going to learn Torah, what are they going to do? They're going to hang around with mommy in the house. The Ran actually brings over here, it says in the pasuk, Kol Kvuda, or the Mefarish brings, Kol Kvuda Bas Melech Pnima. The place of the girls are inward, to be inside. So you don't have to watch them of running around. So therefore, from our Mishnah, when it says over here that you shouldn't teach Torah or Chumash, that is, to someone that you made a neder, it doesn't make a distinction between a man or a woman. So it's mashma that they're both the same. But according to this reasoning, this shimur is only necessary for a man, not for a woman. For the girls, they don't run around. This is the girsa that we have over here in our Gemara. But the Ran has a different girsa. He brings a second girsa based on what we learned before in the Gemara. The Gemara before explained that according to this opinion, that it's about watching them not to run around. This only applies to children. Doesn't apply to adults, and that's not the simple pshat of the Mishnah. And the simple pshat of the Mishnah was talking about adults, and the Gemara before had to say chsur and mechser, had to change the Mishnah. So that also explains why this Tana, why this Hamayra here didn't want to say this pshat. And now the Gemara asks the reverse. According to the opinion that says that the reason why you pay when you teach Chumash is to watch the children. My time pisuk time. Why did he not want to say the reason is that you pay not for the words of the Chumash itself, but for the timing that you teach? And says the Gemara, Kasavar, because he holds pisuk timim de'iraisa, teaching the trop, the song, the notes when you read from the Chumash actually is part of Torah. It is midairaisa. So you can't say that for that you do pay because it's not Torah. That's part of Torah. What's the meaning of the pasuk that says Vayukaru b'sefer? They read in the sefer Torah Salakim, the Torah of the Eibishter, Mefeirash. It's explained, and v'soim seichel, and give them the intellect of Torah v'yavinu b'mikra, and they'll understand the mikra. V'yikru b'sefer Torah Salakim. So the Gemara teaches the first part of the pasuk when it says they read in the sefer Torah Salakim, Zeh mikra. That's the words of the pasuk. Mefeirash, when it says that it's going to be explained, Zet Targum, that refers to the Targum of the Torah. V'soim seichel elu apsukim, that refers to the psukim, where every pasuk begins, where every pasuk ends. That's also a halach l'moshe misina, and that's part of Torah, to know exactly the beginning and the end of psukim. V'yavinu b'mikra, what does v'yavinu b'mikra mean? Zeh pisuk taimim. This is the songs of the psukim, which are called pisuk taimim, because based on the song of the pasuk, you know exactly the punctuation of how to read the pasuk. And v'amri la, others actually say a different pshat of what v'yavinu b'mikra means. Elo ha-mesaitis. This refers to the various different mesaitis of how you pronounce the words of the psukim. Right, when you the psukim in the Torah don't have any nekudas in it, but there's a mesaida, exactly how you read the psukim. So you see over here, according to one pshat, that v'yavinu b'mikra refers to the pisuk taimim. So the taimim are also min ha-Torah. So in connection to this, the Gemara brings Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Mikra Seifrim. What is Mikra Seifrim refer to? Again, there's a few different things. There's Mikra Seifrim, the reading of the Seifrim, the Psukim of the Torah. Then there's Itur Seifrim, there's Itur, like the crowns of the Seifrim, the crowns when you teach the Torah. The Gemara will explain in a moment what that is. And then there's Vikarion, V'loik Sivan. There are Psukim in Torah that we read certain words, even though they're not written there. This is what's called usually the Kri, the way we read it, but it's not written that way. And then Ksivan V'loik Karyan. There are certain Psukim in Torah that are written certain ways, but we don't pronounce, we don't read it that way. And these are all halacha l'Moshe Sinai. This is all was given down from Moshe Rabbeinu from Sinai. So what are Mikra Seifrim? What does it mean, the Mikra Seifrim? This refers to the various different ways how the same words can be pronounced. And the Gemara gives an example, Eretz, Shamayim, and Mitzrayim. These words, Eretz, Shamayim, and Mitzrayim, so it could be read Eretz, or it could be read Oretz, or Shamayim, or Shamoyim, or Mitzrayim, or Mitzrayim. The difference usually is when it's in the middle of a pasuk, it's read Eretz. When it's at the end of a pasuk, or maybe even by an asnachta, it's read Oretz, or Shamayim, or Mitzrayim. So this is all halacha l'Moshe Sinai, how it's read. What's Itter Seifrim? Itter Seifrim are certain words in the Torah that are being added for beauty. They don't have to be there mitzad the pshat, but it was added in the Torah because of beauty. And the Gemara brings examples. Achar tavayru, achar telech, achar te'asef, kid musarim, achar neignim. Now, if you look at all these psukim at the full context of the pasuk, you'll see that the words acher are extra. And it's being just written for extra clarity or extra beauty, or the Gemara calls it the crown of Torah. Tzidkascha, another example of something that's extra in the Torah. Tzidkascha, kaharere keil, the word, the chaf, over here it's only a letter. The chaf of kaharere keil is extra. So these are different things that the Torah adds for the crowns of Torah. Kariyim v'loik sivim, what's examples of words in Torah that are read even though they're not even written there? You have a lot of times in the Torah, kri and ksiv, different ways how words are pronounced. But here the Gemara brings examples of full words that are not there, written, but we read them. Pras de belechtoi. In a regular kriya? They're read. These are words. These are all words from Nach. One of them maybe is from Chumash, but I think according to most opinions, all these psukim are from Nach. But you don't find this in Torah that there's a word that's not written, but it's read. Okay, so all these pras, the word pras in the pasuk of belechtoi. So it doesn't actually. The word pras is not written there, but you read it. Ish, the kasha yishal ish, bidvara alakim. So that word ish in the middle of that pasuk is not written, but you read it. Baim, the word baim, the nivnasa, of the pasuk where it says nivnasa. La, the lepleta. Es, the haged hugad. Elai, the hagairin. Elai, the hasairim. So these are all words that are read, but are not written there. And then you have the reverse also. Again, the Gemara concludes, halein, karyan, v'leik sivan. These are all the ones that are read and not written. Kasvan v'leik karyan, and then you have other words in the Torah that are written there, but we don't read them. Na the yislach, zayis the hamitzvah, yidroich the hadeirach, that's how it's pronounced, and chomesh the paas negev, and im the chigayel. So halein, all of these are kasvan v'leik karyan. They're written there, but we don't read them. Okay, you have very often in the Torah the Kri and the Ksiv, but the Gemara here is bringing the examples of full words of the Torah that are either written and not read, or read and not written. Okay, these are the various aspects in Torah. Okay, we'll see a lot more over here. Many other psukim the Gemara is going to explain.